Hello everybody, good afternoon. This is Gas Pipe, and this is my first instructional video on part one of the NATOPS Instrument check ride, which is going to entail a departure into instrument conditions, flying a departure procedure, going out and doing some air work at the steep turn pattern, and then doing some unusual attitudes, and then coming back in, tracking a TACAN inbound, and then shooting a TACAN runway 32 approach back here into Silver Bow. So let's go ahead and get started. As you can see, I'm already taxied out. The airplane has started. I've run through my checklist and so forth. I assume all of you can do that and so forth, so just in interest to save time, we'll go ahead and start here. As I sit here, one of the things I would have done before I taxied is I would have obtained a clearance. And in order to obtain a clearance, I need to get the weather first, which the weather, if DCS modeled that, I'd be able to tune in a frequency and get the weather. But currently the weather is wind is calm. It's overcast at 700 feet. Altimeter is 20, dew point's 14. Altimeter is 2992, which that is set. So fairly standard, just a 700-foot overcast. So now what I need to do is I need to call ground to get a clearance. Ground control can be reached on 335.5. So let's go ahead and we'll tune that up manually. All right, and I'd have something to write down and so forth, but I'd call them Silver Bow ground, infield 11, requesting clearance. They'll come back and they'd say Silver Bow 11, you're cleared to destination via the Tonopah 2 departure, radar vectors, climb and maintain Angels 15, and departure procedure or departure control is 254.4. I'd read that back and I'd be good to go. So let's go ahead and start setting everything up. First of all, we know departure control is 254.4. Why don't we go ahead and set that on radio number 2. Okay, so that's set. So we'll use radio 1 for ground and tower, radio 2 for departure control. It just makes it easier to flip-flop between the two. On the departure procedure, Tonopah 2 departure, we've got climb gradients up there. Let's not worry about that. We've got terrain out here to the right, obstacles, 8840 up to the east, 5673 right off the end of the runway. Out to the west, 2,000 feet, pretty much above us is terrain, and then down to the south. So just be aware that that's what this departure procedure is for, is to basically keep us clear of obstacles and not fly into anything. All right, so let's read takeoff runway 32. We have a climb heading 321, so let's go ahead and set that up. Which is set to intercept the Tonopah VORTAC. Okay, so we come up here, Tonopah 117.2 if we had a normal VOR nav radio. There's the Morse code to identify it, which we'll go through here in a second. And the TACAN channel is 119, so we'll turn on TACAN. 119, enter. We get the identifier, we're good. It's X-ray, we're all good to go. Let's go ahead and verify the Morse code, which tells me that I'm tuned to the correct station. We should have a dash, dot, dash, dot, and then 4 dots. This is kind of the old school way of doing things in the world of GPS and RNAV and stuff, but back in the day we had to make sure we were tuned to the correct station by verifying the Morse code. There we go, we're done. All right, the next part is we've done the heading, we've done the VORTAC, now the course. So 108 radial, and we know we're going to fly a 288 course coming in. So let's go ahead and select the TACAN as our navigation instrument. We're going to look down here in C-cell here, down the right-hand corner of the DDI, and we're going to go ahead and set in 288 on our course selection. 288. There we go. So that's our inbound course. So basically we're going to take off heading 321, a left turn to intercept that 288 course into Tonopah. We have one thing here, 10,000 feet. Cross Tonopah at or above 10,000 feet. So that's our altitude restriction we need to be at. Not going to be an issue in a Hornet or anything, but that just again verifies or confirms that we're not going to hit any terrain. So I think we're good with that. When we come back, we know we're coming back for the TACAN 32, so why don't we get as much as that done as we can. We've got all the frequencies, approach course, length, and all that kind of stuff, threshold crossing or threshold elevation, airport elevation, all that stuff. Got our approach light system, go over that. Missed approach instructions, our weather station, our control, and our radio frequencies and stuff. Any type of notes that might apply, and so forth. This little thing here tells us from Tonopah 25 mile around, we're good at 10,005 to the east, 9,000 to the northwest, 9,500 to the south. This view depicts a top-down view as to what the approach will look like. This is more of a horizontal view with the different step downs and DME fixes and altitudes required. I'll go over what this means here in a little bit, but basically what I'm looking for is 6,080 feet is going to be our minimum, and we need 1 mile. Okay, so 530 is what height above the ground, so we'll go ahead and dial that in. Pretty close right there. And we need 601 for the weather in order to be legal for this approach. We know we have 700 feet, we have unlimited visibility, so we're good to go on this approach. Circling approach, we'll talk about that, but those have kind of been phased out over the years. People still do them and so forth, but they're a little bit more difficult to do. Just to keep yourself out of the clouds, a little finite. That 100-foot buffer we have there is pretty difficult to do. So something to practice if you get some free time and so forth, but it's outside of the scope of what we're trying to do here. All right, so we're set up. You can also see one other thing, emergency safe altitude, 100 nautical miles from the airport here is 16,600. It's a good number to keep in mind in the event that you lost communication, lost nav, lost a HUD, or something like that. So 16.6 is the magic number, 100 miles out. All right, I think we're good. We've got our nav set up, we've got our course set up, we've got our heading set up, we've got our radio set up, and we have our radar altitude set up. Our checklists, before takeoff checklists, are pretty much done. Wings, trim, air brake, hook, taxi lights are good. We don't have to worry about the carrier stuff. All right, so let's go ahead and tune tower in, which happens to be 257.95. And we'll go ahead and request takeoff.
Infield 1-1, request takeoff.
In the real world would say, you know, Silverbow Tower, Infield 1-1 requesting takeoff, runway 32, and it'd say Infield 1-1, line up and wait, runway 32, or we'll play it, you're clear for takeoff, runway 32, Tonopah 2 departure. So now we know what we're doing. We clear on the left, clear on the right. Let's go ahead and taxi into position. Bring up our departure. When we're working with night and low visibility conditions, it's best just to take your time and go slow. You're not in a race. You can see you've got a very limited visibility, so just take your time and go slow and make sure you're correct.
Enfield 1-1, unable to clear for takeoff.
Make sure
Enfield 1-1, you are cleared for takeoff.
we're lined up.
Climb 300 at QFE 24.49.
All right, we're clear for takeoff. Everything looks good. Flaps, everything looks good to go. It's going to be a full burner takeoff, 350 knots, 10 degrees nose up. So let's go ahead and start bringing the power up. Engines look good. Give it the juice. All right, rotate, gear, and flaps. Coming up to auto. 10 degrees. Turn left, heading 321. And we'll do an after takeoff checklist. All right, so after takeoff, gear is up, flaps are up. Lights are good, pitch is good. Radar, we won't worry about that. Pitot heat is set, and we're good to go. Also, tower now would hand us off to Nellis Control, so we'll go ahead and do that. They'll say, contact Nellis on 254.4. So do that, check in with them. And I'd say Nellis Control, Infield 1-1 is out of Angels 10 for Angels 15. They come back and say Infield 1-1, radar contact, climb and maintain Angels 15. All right, so now we know where we're going. We'll go back to the departure. Right now we're in the 300. you can see 300, we're on the correct heading. We're at 12,000, Angels 12, I should say. And we're going to track that 288 inbound. When we get to about 292 or so, in that top left-hand corner, we're going to make our left-hand turn. So we've got 1,000 to go. We'll start shallowing out. All right, 293 and 292 will make our turn, 288. Here's your 288, roll out, continue the climb. About 6 miles out. All right, there we are. We are at Angels 15, 350 knots, and about 3 miles from the station. All right, we can go ahead and shut down the kneeboard. After this, we're going to make a climbing right turn to 200, or Angels 20, and 300 knots. Okay, we're going to slow down just interest of time. So now let's control, climb, and maintain Angels 20, right turn 360. So a 5-degree pitch up. Actually, let's make it a little bit quicker, about 7.5 degrees. 30 degrees of bank, 300 knots we're coming back to. All right, rolling out 360. 1,000 to go, start shallowing out. And there we go, Angels 20, 300 knots. Okay, the first part of this steep turn pattern is a right-hand turn, 15 degrees for 90 degrees. So if you'll notice the little tick marks down at the bottom of the HUD, we've got 5 degrees, 15 degrees, 30 degrees, and 45 degrees for each respective tick mark. So we'll make the right-hand turn to 15, which is right there. And the whole concept of this, I know it's boring, but the whole concept is to show control in the turn, maintaining altitude, maintaining airspeed. You'll have to maintain the airspeed obviously with power, and you'll see how that works as you get into the deeper bank angles. All right, as you can see, we're not in the clouds. We've got visibility on the stars and stuff. But as you can see, there's absolutely zero reference to any ground-based items or the horizon. As we get into nighttime over water, this will become much more prevalent. even without the cloud base, it's very difficult to see at night without a full moon over water, so lack of horizon and so forth. So the ability to make these turns and to control the airplane by instruments is fairly critical. All right, as we get to 90 degrees here, the next segment is a left turn 15 degrees for 90 degrees. All right, roll right into it. Make any power adjustments. A little strong on that bank. There we go, and there's our inlet ice, which happens to be a little bug in DCS now. We're going to ignore that for now. I will show you how to run the checklist for that as we head back towards the airport, because I'm sure we'll get it 3 or 4 more times, even if we do the procedure. So just to show you again, 5-degree tick, 15-degree tick, 30-degree tick, and 45-degree tick. All right, as we come up, approaching north, the next segment to this is a 30-degree bank for 180 degrees to the right. All right, as we turn, 30 degrees. And in these banks, they vary quite a bit with aircraft weight and so forth, with how much power is required, drag and so forth. So we're a fairly clean airplane right now. So as we make the 30-degree bank and we increase our bank angle, there's very not much power is required. If we were heavier, or if we had a lot of ordnance on or high drag items or things like that, you'd notice the power requirements are a lot steeper with the power inputs to maintain the altitude and the speed. Coming up on 20 degrees to go. All right, rolling out 180 and back to the left is the next segment. 30 degrees to left are 180. All right, 90 to go. As we approach north, the next segment, you can probably guess, is a 45-degree bank to the right for 360 degrees, which we'll roll right into. All right, right turn. You'll see if I don't add any power, I'm going to bleed airspeed because of the higher bank angle. So you can see that happening now. So we're going to have to add a little bit of power. Halfway around. All right, as we get to 360, the last segment is left turn, 45 degrees for 360. So here we go, rolling right in. Halfway through. All right. So that is now complete. Stabilize that. All right. Contact Nellis and just say we're going to turn left heading 180. So let's go ahead and make a left-hand turn with just 45-degree banking just to get there pretty quickly. Stay at 300 knots just so we can head back in the direction of the airport, about 45 miles out now. Here's our lovely inlet ice. Again, we'll just ignore that. And then once we get on the 180 heading, we'll go ahead and perform the unusual attitudes, which in the real world, in a simulator, basically you take your hands off the controls, put your head down. The instructor would say, okay, my airplane, put it in all these weird different angles and attitudes and this and that, and then tell you to recover. So you'd look up, you'd look at the HUD or your flight instruments, whatever it would be, and you'd have to recover. So nose high, nose low, either way, you'll soon find out. So basically what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to go ahead and turn the HUD off, just move the controls all around everywhere, and see if I can't get myself in an unusual attitude, and we'll recover from that. So here we are, heading 180, we're 40 miles from the airport, or from the Tonopah Vortac, 310 knots, Angels 20. Let's go ahead and turn off my HUD, get rid of this, put this on, whatever. All right, we don't want that either, but put it on this, make it easy. All right, so now I have no reference to what I'm doing at all, except for my standby, which I'm not looking at. All right, if I start to move and do crazy things. All right, so let's recover. Go ahead and turn up the HUD. As you can see, we're in a descending mode. Let's cut the power, roll the wings level, and then start a gentle pull up to arrest ourselves out of the descent. Level off, 15,000 feet, Angels 1.5. Not bad, still fairly on heading. Let's go ahead and climb up to 200 again, or Angels 20 again. And 180 on the heading again. And we'll do one more. All right, is our Angels 20. Let's go ahead and darken it up, wherever it is. Is that it? No. There it is. All right, so we're dark. We have absolutely no idea what we're doing. And go ahead and recover. Pick it up. All right, not too bad. We're going to climb left turn, but our speed's decaying. What we're going to do is just let the nose fall, add some power, and then start rolling out. Descend, get some airspeed back. I could have slammed the power forward, but there was really no reason to. And if we get into the stall series later in a training scenario, I'll show you why that was and so forth. But we won't, for sake of time and instruments and stuff like that, we won't go through that. So we'll descend down to 20. We'll make the left-hand turn back to 180. I'll bring up my HSI again. All right, we're 25 miles outside. It's showing 243 is the heading. So why don't we just turn direct to Tonopah? We'll contact Nellis. So Nellis, Silver Bow 1-1, we're complete with the air work. Would like to head back to the airport for attack and approach. And they're going to say, all right, infield 1-1, descend and maintain Angels 1-5, and you are cleared direct to Silverbow TACAN. All right. So I can read that back, and Silverbow TACAN is 77. All right, so we're 20 miles from that, 187. We'll turn to that. And we'll get the ident here in a second. We're going to hook the autopilot up because the autopilot is your friend, especially in night and weather conditions. It decreases your workload tremendously. So we will go ahead and put it on the tick here. We'll come back to 300 knots. All right, so a fairly stable 16 miles out. Let's go ahead and click the autopilot up. Barrel hold. 300 knots. We'll go ahead and get the ID. All right, there's our ID. We're good to go on that. All right, so basically when we get over the station passage, we're going to go ahead and fly the outbound course, okay, so which is a heading of 134. So I'm going to go ahead and set in 314 into my course now, which is our inbound course. So there we go. So 314 is set. We know when we get over the station, we'll be right over it. So if we turn to 134, we're going to be pretty much tracking on the outbound radial for the most part, pretty close. So 134 heading about 50 degrees off. So we'll probably just lead it just a touch, maybe a mile or so, but it should be pretty close. All right, so we're at 80 miles. We're at Angels 1-5. What I can do is I'm going to go ahead and if I can see it, which I can't. Okay, autopilot. And we'll go over that here in a second. Okay, we'll put the heading select on the autopilot. We're about 4 miles. Okay, and 3 miles. And we're going to come back to 250 knots as that's the penetration speed, and we're going to descend down to 1,000. So there's 3 miles. I'm going to go ahead and move my heading to 134. We're pretty close, and we'll see how we do with that. And also, we'll start the descent once we get established on that heading, or that course, I should say. Anyways, let's go ahead and look up. I'll show you how to do this. It's not a warning, it's a caution, and it's called the inlet ice caution, which happens to be right here on the car space. Corrective action is engine anti-ice switch on and pitot anti-ice switch on, and we'll go through the rest of the notes. Ice is visible. No, it's not. If no ice is visible on leading edge surfaces, increase to 5 degrees, which go ahead and pull up our engine page. That would tell us what we need to do, and we're going to have to come left a little bit on the heading here. All right, so the engine page would be over here. So our inlet temp 7 degrees, so we're good to go, and climber descent out of the clouds. So we're good to go with that, but that's how you look that up. Let's go back to the TACAN. All right, so now we're established outbound. We're basically on a 309, so we actually need to come right a little bit. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and disconnect the autopilot, get back to 250, and start descending down to 1.5. They're going to say, okay, go ahead and contact tower. So now let's control Enfield 1-1, go ahead and contact tower. So I would come over to this radio, and they've cleared me for the approach already, so I would go Silverbow Tower. Enfield 1-1 is established outbound on the TACAN 3-2. And it'd say Enfield 1-1, report inbound on TACAN 3-2. Okay, as you can see, we're on the 312 course. We're pretty close. We're coming down to 11. Our speed is going to decay here in a second as soon as we level off. Planes like to go down, they like to slow down, but they don't like to go down and slow down at the same time. So, 11,000 will bring it back to 250. More of a right-hand turn, I would guess. Get us back on course. We're at 14 DME, basically 18 DME is what we're looking for. Then we're going to start a 45-degree cut, basically a teardrop entry in. So that's going to be a heading of about 090, so to speak, pretty close to that. And that's a teardrop entry into the pattern to intercept the final approach course into the runway. So there's DME 17 miles. Okay, there's 18, so 090 on the heading, 30 degrees of bank, and we're taking it out to DME 28. All right, 090. And you could have the autopilot fly this for you, make it easier for you with heading select and things like that. I'll hand fly this just for the sake of practice and so forth. But like I said, the autopilot's your friend. It can really help reduce workloads and so forth. So let's go ahead and look at our checklist, see if we have anything. Approach checklist, master arms good, left TDI is on the checklist, we won't worry about that. MPCD, HSI, FCS. There we go. Radar altimeter is set. HUD is set. Nav aids are set. Landing course set. DDI, anti-skid, pitot, and lights. So the approach checklist is done. Let's go back to the approach. We're basically going out to DME 28. There's our friend again. We've done it. Watch, I'll show you. Pitot heat on and engine ice on, and it really doesn't matter. It'll go away eventually and come back, so just a bug, no big deal. 25 miles, we're almost out to 28. One mile to go until we make our right-hand turn, which is basically a 180-degree turn, so basically 270 to take a 45-degree angle and intercepting the approach course inbound, which is 314. Okay, there's 28. Start our turn. Remember, 30-degree bank. Add a little power. Now, we are established on the approach, so we are clear down to 10,400 feet. We will we'll wait for that until we roll inbound when we have to report, which
Enfield 1-1, inbound.
we'll do that just so they turn on the approach lights.
Enfield 1-1, fly heading 302 for 23. QFE 24.49, runway 32 to pattern altitude.
All right, there's my 270 heading. All right, we're still at 11. Speed is good, and our next step, what we're looking for is basically, you'll notice the 306 on the left-hand DDI top left corner. We're going to wait till that gets to about 311, 312, and then we're going to turn inbound to the 314 heading. Course. We're also looking at our DME. Cubon, which is the initial approach fix, is DME 18. Right now we're at DME 29, so we've got plenty of time to make this turn inbound. Then 311 and 312 will start making a turn. 312. All right, so let's turn in. Cut it short just a bit, just since we're still at 313, so just stay left of course a little bit. All right, so now we'll start down. We can report in, so Silverbow Tower, infield 11 is inbound, tack in 32. And we'll come back infield 11, you're clear to land, runway 32. Awesome. So we're pretty much good to go. Good down to 10,400 feet. There's our 314, so we're going to turn to 314. All right, so once we get to DME 18, which we're at 22 now, we'll start down to 8,700 feet by DME 14, which is IRAVE. Pretty good descent to get down there, and that will shallow out as we go to ITAVE. You'll see what I'm talking about here in a second. And you'll notice on the lower right-hand side, 2.85 degrees. That's basically what you're going to set on your velocity vector as you get inside the final approach fix, which is at ITAVE, which will bring you to Itogi, which is the missed approach point at 1 mile. It should get you right there, pretty much on time, and so you're not driving low. If you went too much of a descent, you go too low. If you didn't do enough of a descent, you'd obviously be too high, which we don't want either of those. Being low is better as long as you stop at 6,080 feet. All right, so there's DME 18. We're going down to 8,700 feet. All right, we're just going to adjust for 313. We're just going to cut a little left, of course, here. Get us back. There's 314 there. Altimeter checks, we got that in the approach check. All right, DME 14, pretty close. We're at 8,900 feet. All right, so now you'll see, there's DME 14, we're at 8,700. Now we're gonna shallow it out a little bit because we have to be at 7,400 feet at DME 6.5. Our next real step here is at 10 miles. We're gonna start to configure the airplane. One of the things you'll see in instruments and so forth, especially with the flight model the way it is, basically I'm going to put the gear down and flaps half, and then when I break out of the clouds, I'm going to go to full flaps there and then land accordingly, just based on deck angles and so forth, being able to see, and you'll get the drift when you come out of the clouds. All right, still going down to 7,400 here, coming up on 10 miles. All right, 10 miles, gear down, ups to half, and before landing checklist. All right, so gear, flaps, air brake, speed, ATC, trim, and we're good. All right, tack in 3-2. All right, so as you can see, world gets slow quickly with flaps. Let's adjust it, 7,400 at 6.5. Jeez, the flaps are just awful, awful. All right, correcting back to 7,400. Little right turn to get us back on course here. All right, 6.5, so now we're about 3 degrees nose down. That's gonna get us.
Enfield 1-1, cleared for visual, contact tower.
All right.
Enfield 1-1, request landing.
All right, so now we're 5 miles. We're going down to 1 mile. And we're going down to 6,080 feet. All right, 3 miles. Should start busting out here pretty soon. Two and a half miles. All right, we're starting to see there's our lead-in lights. Go ahead and kill the kneeboard. All right, so now we're going to start setting up for the runway. There's our minimums. We're going to go to full flaps.
Enfield 1-1, check landing gear. Runway 32.
There we go, on the ground. All right, once we clear the runway, ground tower will put us over to ground.
Enfield
Run our
1-1,
after landing
taxi
checklist,
parking area.
and we'll be good to go. All right, so we'll come to a stop here. For the sake of time, what we're going to do is we're going to end the video here, and we'll pick it up with part 2, which is our cross-country flight to Nellis. All right, I'll see you in a little bit. Good job, and I'll see you in a few.